So if you haven't hopped on Call of Duty World War II since anytime late last night, you might be in for a treat whenever you jump on, because you'll be greeted with a 10 gigabyte download for PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, and by this time that this goes up, should be PC as well, which will contain for PlayStation 4 users the DLC for Shadow War map pack with 3 multiplayer maps, a war map, and also zombies, as well as a bunch of different things though overall across the board for anyone that jumps on, because included in this update not only was the DLC for PlayStation 4 users, but we're presumably going to have a lot of stuff still locked up in terms of timed releases for another upcoming event, but also the big things up on deck are a brand new division, a few basic trainings, and other cool things thrown in the mix as well on top of that. So today we're going to take a look at and break down the Commando division, the basic trainings, and also the other new basic training we end up getting here out of this for you guys, and give you an in-depth understanding about what you might be jumping into for either the first time or maybe some tidbits of information you maybe didn't know about this if you've even played a little bit. But that said, we're going to be breaking down the Commando division, 2 new basic trainings, a new weapon, and maybe some other stuff depending on if we end up getting to it. But that said, let's just jump right into it. The biggest thing here out of this update, of course, was a brand new division. This makes this our 8th installment to the division system, in which we now have had airborne, infantry, armored, expeditionary, and mountain at launch. Then post-launch we had with DLC 1, the Resistance, DLC 3 granted us cavalry, and now we end up having our 8th division, that being Commando. So first things first, Commando is free to everyone. It's not tied to DLC. It just happens to be released alongside the DLC. So assuming you've downloaded the newest title update, you'll be able to end up jumping on. What's funny to me though is that we've actually seen this division as of 4 months ago. This was data mined and leaked out 4 months ago over on Reddit, and it's kind of crazy to me that it's been around this long under our noses right there in front of us the whole time, but the Commando division is based upon placement a bit and also tactical play when you get down to the nitty gritty of what it helps you in terms of your meta, if you will, when playing World War II. So there's firstly 4 ranks to Commando, as with all other divisions. With rank 1, you end up getting right off the bat a paratrooper insert, which is a tac insert in a sense. And what's cool about this is that you can actually glide in, like with how we saw with Operation Supercharge, how you jump into that, you jump out of the plane and can pick your landing spot still in a relative general vicinity. You can't go very far into the map, but you get the picture. But what the difference is between this and Operation Supercharge is the landing location is static. You can't move in any direction like you could at the start of Supercharge. You're just gonna float down. Now you can control your speed that you float down here with this by using your left thumbstick, pushing that in. You can control the speed in which you descend, but other than that, that's really the only thing. So that said, while the tac insert might not be everybody's favorite cup of tea, it is a little different here, and I'm actually okay with how this was implemented, because this opens up a lot of vulnerability whenever you end up descending down into the map. There's about 3 to 5 seconds in which you're just hanging there for anybody to see, assuming they look up. Now to me, this is an easy counter. It takes a little bit more map awareness, sure, but you can end up spotting an enemy in midair, plus you can actually shoot them down. You can either hit them in the body, or what's easier, it takes a little more shots, is you can actually shoot down the parachute itself, to which you'll end up getting a kill labeled Paratrooper Insta-Kill by shooting that parachute. Now, to me, maybe it's messed up, but I find the animation of sending your enemy following 5 stories to their death to be kind of funny looking. Regardless, kind of rounding this back up, it is relatively easy to counter if you have the map awareness and you can see up into the sky. Now, Commando rank 2 allows your health to regenerate quicker, and kills also trigger healing. So this is something that allows you to do what it initially says, which is the obvious part of the division, but the kills triggering healing is pretty big, because for those that don't know, all health regeneration in COD up until now, and Black Ops 4 is going to change this, all CODs up until this point had a slight delay on when you regen. So you take damage, and then if you don't take any more, it's about a 5-second delay, and then your health will gradually start to come back in a time period of about 3 to 5 seconds, depending on how much damage you've taken. I know that previous health regeneration systems, I think it was like 75 HP or something, after that window of 5 seconds of a cooldown, it would instantly put your health back up. But if you were, say, one shot and down to like 1 HP, it would take 3 to 5 seconds to actually go back up. But this then triggers instant health regeneration. It gets rid of that small window of time where you're just kind of in limbo. I can't say how effective of a combo regenning faster and having an instant start is, but it definitely is noticeable, and it's way less time than just standard health regeneration. As for rank 3, multi-kills and headshots grant extra score and ammo, which for me, this is absolutely massive. I love ammo, and sometimes in the process, wanting to stay alive, it becomes a crutch. So multi-kills and headshots granting additional ammo is absolutely great, but one thing you'll also notice is that you actually get a ton of extra score more from headshots and multi-kills, which by the way, multi-kills in World War II are just double kills and higher, so it's easy to get additional score, which I don't think anybody's really going to complain about getting a bit more to boost towards those streaks or your overall XP earned as a result of how much score you get in game. Now the fourth and final rank here with this allows you to take a second basic training, which is absolutely massive and is something that players were asking for ages, and I'm glad it's finally here in some capacity. Now my initial hunch was right, the secondary basic trainings are limited to what you have on offer. For example, you can't couple specialist with any basic training, so it essentially nullifies the final step of Commando's ranking. But if you find, for example, in my case, I took Catalyst as my first basic training, you then have the option of 16 other basic trainings to choose from, including Espionage, Launched, Clandestine, Escalation, Instincts, Hustle, Lookout, Gunslinger, Undercover, Forge, Flanker, Scope, Energetic, Hunker, Inconspicuous, and Remedy. So that said, you don't get the full selection of basic trainings on offer, but relative to Specialist, it's the ones that allow you to really have more operator-specific abilities, not what changes the class and the weapons and the lethals from the top down. So that's where it's kind of limited, but it's definitely a ton of fun to play around with, and I suggest you try it out, especially if you can get it up to that max rank of 4 before prestiging. But that said, what if you end up getting up to rank 4, you max it out? What's next? Well, if you want to go and prestige this weapon, once you're finally able to do so, you'll be able to head to the headquarters and prestige the division, to which you'll be granted 2 items in particular, 1 weapon and 1 basic training. Now as for the weapon, that's the AS-44, a brand new rifle, very similar in build to an AK of some sorts, but this plays rather like the AVS from my own opinion here with this, but not as much kick to it. The recoil pattern is relatively straight up in the air, so you should be able to counter it pretty well just by pulling down on your right thumbstick a bit in gunfights, even without grip. But if you do have a slot in your attachments open to use, grip certainly won't hurt. It's a modest rate of fire as well on the weapon, nothing too over the top, but it's also not the worst in class, so if I were to guess, this weapon's probably going to be relatively standard and middle of the pack in about a week's time or so, once everything starts to die down a bit in relation to this DLC and this division update. But ultimately, it's a lot of fun to play around with, and as of right now, there's only 2 variants. The base variant for the AS-44 is the one you get when prestiging, but also there's another one entitled the Predecessor, which is presumably the max prestige division reward, or maybe it follows the same case of the ZK, where a future contract comes out in a few weeks' time that'll allow us to get this weapon variant here out of it. But that said, I wouldn't expect this to be the only variant for this weapon in due time. Of course, we are more than likely going to have another event coming out, likely within a week or two's time, and along with that, already 2 new weapons have been found in the paint jobs, and as well with the Wanderlust basic training, so there's more weapons and variants more than likely on the way in a very short period of time. But I digress, the AS-44 is definitely one that's fun to play around with. Is it crucial that you end up unlocking it? Not really, but if you want to play around with something that's a little bit new and different, this is of course a nice one to end up grabbing onto. But as for the basic training you end up getting when you prestige the division, you end up getting a basic training called Remedy. This offers the ability to regen health faster, which is great for players that don't want to use Commando, but that said, if you end up wanting to use Commando, it kind of is pointless to use Remedy with this because they overlap. Throughout my testing with this, I ended up finding the only real discrepancies may have come in comparison error, i.e. the frame starting and not matching up exactly to when the damage first was initially given, and so therefore in terms of just setting those perimeters of start and end times for damage to regen, might be off by a little bit. So the margin of error was only a few fractions of a second and practically non-existent. However, whether you end up using Commando or Remedy, the benefits of using those definitely outweigh the standard health regeneration tremendously. And that's something because if you use either Remedy or Commando division, you'll see the time to regen your health is cut in half. No exaggeration at all. You can literally take 2 of the same clips and then put them in the timeline. You'd end up having 2 in the same time as 1 for standard regeneration to either Commando or Remedy. So definitely fantastic if you are a player that likes to regen your health, and it's definitely noticeable in game. And having used it a little bit, I don't know if I'll be ready to go back outside of Commando division or outside of Remedy. So we'll see what this one ends up working out, but a little pro tip for you guys: if you end up using Commando as well as Specialist with Remedy of one of those, you're kind of wasting one of the perk slots there. Now that's really it for the division itself and everything that it grants you, but the other thing that we ended up getting that was big out of this was another basic training, which we'll round this video off with, that being something called Catalyst. When you jump into the creative class to be able to select your basic training, you'll see that it says it gives access to a serum which improves weapon handling while active. Serum replenishes over time. So at first glance, that might seem kind of weird to think about, but it is something that is an activatable thing in-game and kind of replenishes itself like what we saw with Black Ops 4's abilities, in which there's a slight cooldown for it, then you can use it again, and it activates for a short period of time. Now, in terms of improved weapon handling, I don't think that anybody's really pinpointed down what exactly this does just yet in terms of the statistical benefits here for it, but having used it quite a bit yesterday whenever the DLC first launched, one of the first things that I initially noticed was that I think that it helps with your recoil, it helps with your mobility, and it also increases the speed at which you reload. So pretty much as of this, a sort of combination of a hustle basic training plus some improved abilities to your weapon specific things like grip, and a few other things probably thrown in the mix there as well, where it's kind of just an assortment and goodie bag of things that'll help you out for a very short period of time. Now, is it something that makes you a super soldier for 5 to 10 seconds? Not really, but it is something that you can definitely notice you have that improved burst of speed, energy, and efficiency whenever you use your weapon while activating it. Now, as it stands right now, it only does last for about 5 seconds, and the cooldown time is probably 20 to 30 seconds with this, but it still is a lot of fun to play around with, and is the next and final basic training that was added in here with this update. So I think with that, we're gonna wrap it up there, because that's the real big stuff that was added in within Call of Duty World War II's newest title update. So that said, I wanted to give you guys all this lowdown on all the information and some tips maybe you may not have known about, but that said, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you guys a fan of Commando Division as of right now? Are you guys looking forward to using it once you jump on and play for either the first time or a little bit more whenever you play for the next week or so here, out of whenever this is still probably the big ticket item with this? Are you guys excited for what we have on deck with the new event maybe coming and anything in between? So that said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, make sure you drop a like down below. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding Call of Duty World War II, anything in relation to new updates like this, new content coming out probably very soon with another event is my guess, and anything of the like, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing regarding any of that. If you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, that's the best place to get connected from outside of YouTube. Practically live on Twitter, so if you guys want to check up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. And also, if you guys want to follow me over on Instagram as well, a little more active over there, so that link is also in the description for you guys to check out. But all that said and out of the way, thank you guys all so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Take care, jump on World War II, and try out some of the new stuff, and have a great day. Peace.